Creating a personal brand. Okay, so now we're going to talk a bit more about the interesting stuff. The differentiating factors that will help you to become a top blogger rather than just a blogger. One of the options available to you here then is to create a personal brand. This basically means that you're going to put yourself at the forefront of your branding and messaging, and you're going to become a living advocate and example of the lifestyle you're living. This isn't 100% necessary to run a top blog. But if you think about the biggest blogs on the web that aren't owned by massive companies, then you'll realize that the personality of the owner is often front and center. I am Alpha M, Strength Camp, Smart Passive Income, The 4-Hour Workweek, Matthew Woodward, Brain Pickings, The Art of Manliness, Nerd Fitness, Mark's Daily Apple, Heidi Cohen, etc. Having a personality attached to a blog makes it much more relatable, much more interesting, and much more trustworthy. When you read a blog that is run by an actual person who is happy for you to see their face, you can feel as though you almost know that person. That way, you're more likely to trust their opinion and to feel as though they are talking right to you when you read their comments. Likewise, you can enjoy a bit of the voyeurism that comes from getting a glimpse into someone else's life, and you can live vicariously and see what their lifestyle must be like. Reading about fitness on a generic blog is detached, and you have no reassurance that the person writing cares about you, that they practice what they preach, or that what they preach even works. But if you're reading the blog of a guy who lives the life he promotes, who is in fantastic shape, who looks confident and attractive, and who is friendly and outgoing, then suddenly they become a walking advert for the ideas and lifestyle they recommend. Suddenly, you want to listen. Creating a personal brand also opens up a lot more marketing opportunities and makes a lot more sense when it comes to Instagram, etc. So how do you do it? Step 1. Invest in your most important brand. In life, your name is your most important brand. Now, that is also going to be true in an even more literal business sense. And just like any brand, you need to invest if you want to get the most from it. In other words, you need to practice what you preach, and you need to show that you are someone worth listening to. If a tramp came up to you and started giving you advice, would you listen? No. Likewise, if a regular-looking guy or gal came up and gave you advice, you might likewise not be all that inclined to listen. We listen to people who seem to have it all together, and so you need to try and present that face to the world. This means that you need to start thinking about how you come across. If you don't normally spend any time looking after your health and fitness, then you need to start doing that and hitting the gym. Likewise, you can start thinking about your clothes a little more and giving yourself a little more time to shave, to clip your nails, and to moisturize. Spend a bit more money on your clothes. This might mean you need to own fewer items of clothing, but it is much better to have a few very impressive items than it is to have a lot of junk. Make sure that your clothes fit well. All this might sound small, but if you are creating YouTube videos or posting images to Instagram, then people will unconsciously pick up on that night's watch and the high-quality fabrics you're in, and this will give what you're saying more weight and more credibility. Instagram is a great place to focus on how you're going to create an image for yourself. Instagram is all about making life more artistic and more exciting than it is. So make sure you are taking photos of the things you're doing that are relevant to your brand, and to make sure that you're playing with angles, lighting, and filters in order to make them more dramatic and desirable. Again, take a look at what the top people in your niche are doing. How are they selling the lifestyle? You can also be a bit candid with it. Don't be afraid to show occasional pictures of yourself out in the town with friends, or traveling, or chilling with a mug of coffee. Don't do this too often if it is off-brand. But do it a little, because that way you can demonstrate that you are a well-rounded person with a lot going on. Once again, this makes you a person that people want to emulate, follow, and listen to. Remember, it's all about the brand, and that means demonstrating that you have the lifestyle that your readers want. You don't need to be dishonest, but just make sure that you practice what you preach, and that you can show the benefits of that on camera. Creating social media accounts is very important if you're going to be building a personal brand, and this will allow your visitors and your followers to feel as though they're getting to know you. We'll discuss this more in future videos. Creating content. Now you have your blog and your brand, and you know the kind of personality that you want to portray. Everything is in place for you to start filling your site and your social media accounts with content. And yes, it is implied that you should have set up social media accounts on at least the top sites by now: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest. If you haven't, then go and do that now. Now you can begin posting. And here's what that is going to entail. Blogging. To become a top blogger, you need to blog. Obviously, our aim here is to go full-time as a blogger, so that we aren't reliant on any other source of income, and we can potentially give up the day jobs. One of the first things you need to know in order to do this, then, is that your blogging is going to need to be highly regular. You need to post at least once a week, but where possible, I recommend that you post much more frequently. This is another thing that should be fairly obvious, but that seems to elude a lot of new bloggers. If you want to blog full-time, then you need to treat it like a full-time job to begin with. You can't blog for 2 hours a week and expect to become top dog. Blogging frequently will help you to get more attention on Google, because it will create more content for Google to index, and because it will help you build momentum with your readers. You'll be giving them a good reason to come back regularly, apart from anything else. At the same time, even if you only have long-tail keywords, meaning that you only occasionally get a visitor from Google on each post, the more you have, the more you will scale up your profits. Look at it this way. If each blog post you have gets 20 cents a month from Google and you write 40 blog posts per month, then you'll still be making $96 within the first year. Fortunately, the nature of Google and blogging in general is such that things like this tend to snowball. The more people read your site, the more you'll get shared, and the more additional people will come to your site. So the more content you write, the better. Only problem is that it takes a lot of time to write content, and when you start out, you'll probably be trying to fit this in around your other daily activities. That's why I highly recommend that you consider using somewhat smaller articles for the most part. Make these around 700 to 800 words, and that way you can more realistically manage to write several a week. You can even write these at the start of the week in order to make sure you have a batch ready to go. That said, there are a lot of positives for writing long-form content, which Google is a big fan of. Long-form content is anything 1,500 words or longer, with lots of links and with lots of images, etc. These types of posts can become resources, meaning that Google will feature them more prominently, and meaning that your readers might share them as useful tools to illustrate a point or bring someone up to speed on a subject as part of a discussion. Ideally, then, you will intersperse your lighter posts with a couple of mega posts to keep your site more varied and to give yourself the best of both worlds. Ideally, posting 3 shorter posts a week and 1 longer post would be an excellent place to start. What to write? Okay, so the next question is, what should you be writing? This is going to depend on the nature of your site and the niche, of course. But some things that will be true regardless of your topic are, it should be written in a colloquial, friendly manner that is easy to read. It should provide value to the reader. It should be unique, exciting, and engaging. Again, stay away from things that are generic, and instead only write topics that are exciting, new, and original. For instance, you might find a way to combine 2 different subjects in a unique and interesting way. What footballers can learn from martial arts. Or you might just dive deeper into a subject than most people do. The psychology of gardening. Why is it so addicting? Again, stay away from the generic stuff. You want your content to be so unique and exciting that when someone sees the title, they feel compelled to read it. Treat each post like a product and put all the same care and time into it as you would with any other product. Social media posting. That's how you will keep your blog alive with content. So now what about your social media? How will you fill this with interesting new posts and make sure that the people want to keep reading? The first thing to consider is that once again, your content needs to be regular. There is nothing worse than a completely dead social media page, and this will absolutely drive people away from your brand. A tip to help you keep the content flowing is to write posts in advance and schedule them using a tool like Buffer, as well as to consider creating synergy between your social media accounts with a tool like IFTTT. IFTTT will make it so that you can ensure all future posts to Instagram with a specific hashtag will also be posted to Twitter, for example, thereby ensuring a steady flow of content on both channels, even though you're only creating media for one of them. If you are creating a personal brand, Then this allows you to post about your day, and hopefully you'll find that inspiration strikes regarding when you can post and what you can say. Using your mobile phone will help a lot here, as you always have them on us, and so it should be easy to pull them out to snap a photo of your workout, of what we're eating, or of where we're traveling. This way we are bringing our audience along with us throughout our travels and our routine, and thereby promoting the brand and our lifestyles. Of course, you also want to share the content you create, and you can do this directly through WordPress. Another tip: don't be afraid to post old content that you made a while ago. This is a great way to get people to see posts they might have missed, and to make more use from your evergreen posts. This is also something to keep in mind when you're posting seemingly into the void and no one is reading your work. While you might not be getting any feedback now, it doesn't mean those same posts won't get read in the future. Again, the most important thing to do is to provide value of some sort. The way you do this will vary from social media platform to social media platform. On Twitter, the most common way to provide value is with entertainment, humorous or interesting snippets relevant to your niche. On Facebook, it's a good idea to share content that you find interesting and that your audience might as well. Look at Facebook pages like LAD Bible or IFL Science for a good model of how this works. If you post a lot of interesting things and your branding is clear, people will follow you just to stay updated. And finally, on Instagram, the best way to provide value is by offering inspiration by letting people live vicariously. This is why people like to see pictures of people doing yoga against sunrises on the beach, or working in cafes in suits. Is it narcissistic? Maybe, but it's what people want to see, and it can work wonders for your brand. YouTube. If you want to be a successful blogger, then you should highly consider becoming a successful vlogger. This is absolutely one of the most effective ways to help people discover your brand, to communicate with them what you're all about, and even to make sales. YouTube can make a lot of money, and if you get a few thousand views per month on all your videos, it can very nicely supplement your income to help you blog full-time. It also elevates your brand in a big way, because video is something that takes skill and the right equipment to create. Anyone can post to Twitter, but if you have a YouTube video with high production values, crisp video footage, and great editing, then people will think that you must be a pro. This is a much more personal form of media, a much more persuasive one, and one that exists on a platform where it's relatively easy to do high-quality SEO and get to the top of big searches. Just take a look at a brand like Charisma on Command. This brand started as a blog and got relatively nowhere. They then introduced a YouTube channel and exploded seemingly overnight. The same can happen for you, as long as you know how to manage it. So where do you get started? The basics. First, you need to decide on the kinds of videos you want to create. This should be easy enough, seeing as you already have your brand and probably, hopefully, a personal brand. You've taken a look at your presentation, and you've learned through Instagram how to make things look desirable. Now you just need to polish up your elocution. Speak more slowly to sound more confident, and choose a nice backdrop, and you can consider to send that message of success and style. Again, posting frequently is one of the most important things you can do, and so that means you need to create shorter videos that will convey snippets of information. The great thing as well is that you can be relatively informal in your delivery. YouTube is a platform where people love personalities, and if you look at some of the top channels on here, they all have a very conversational and candid manner. A real vlog actually involves someone bringing a camera with them through their daily routine and narrating it. There's nothing wrong with engaging in the hobby or passion you're writing about, getting out your camera, and then just riffing on a topic close to your heart. Production. What does matter, though, is the production. The higher the quality of your videos, the more successful they'll be. Start with video quality. Your video should be at least 1080p HD, and that means you need a decent camera. Ideally, something like a Lumix with a flip screen so you can see yourself while you record. That said, a smartphone will do fine if it has decent autofocus and a high-quality sensor. Actually, more important than this, though, is lighting. Your videos need to be bright, which means you either need to stand near a window or you need to make the relatively small investment of a decent softbox. This will provide lighting for you that looks professional and make a huge difference to your videos. A similar quick and easy upgrade is to get better sound. You can do this with an external mic or with a lapel mic. The Snowball mic from Blue Yeti is one that many vloggers recommend. Finally, You need to have good editing software so that you can put this all together. You're going to want some decent background music. Commission some from a composer on Fiverr.com. And you'll want a decent video opener. Ditto. Place your logo in the top left. Then stitch all this together and sync your audio track using software such as Adobe Premiere or Final Cut Pro. Now with your video component, your audience will feel that they can get to know you, and you can start to cross-promote across all your channels. Add your YouTube channels to your blog posts by embedding them, and tell people on YouTube why they should definitely follow you on Twitter and check out your blog. Of course, the plugins we discussed mean that when someone visits your site, they'll be able to see all the media you're creating on all the different platforms.